The tale starts with Takahashi, a downtrodden office worker. He sits at his workstation, getting a report ready, while mentally reminding himself that it's nearly 6 p.m. He tells himself that this time he will surely leave work on schedule. But just as that thought crosses his mind, his supervisor storms over, radiating anger. The supervisor reprimands Takahashi and blames him for the plan's failure, accusing him of being responsible for the report not being accepted. Without waiting for an answer, the supervisor demands to know why Takahashi wrote such an awful report. Takahashi quickly apologizes, but his supervisor continues. He throws additional files onto Takahashi's desk, and with a dismissive attitude, instructs him to handle those too. Then the supervisor approaches another worker, Sato, and comments on her appearance. He tells her that her makeup looks better than usual and inquires if she's attending a mixer that evening. Sato, a bit embarrassed, laughs and asks the supervisor to stop teasing her. Takahashi watches all this unfold and quietly seethes. He contemplates how, due to his dreadful supervisor, he's bound to be stuck putting in overtime for another 20 days. He bitterly thinks that had the report been well received, his supervisor would have claimed all the credit for himself. Frustration wells up within him as he reflects on how much it angers him. Nonetheless, Takahashi decides against quitting his job. He clenches his jaw and resolves to complete the tasks, even though he has no desire to. Close by, another worker excitedly tells a colleague that he'll be leaving on time today. The intrigued colleague whispers back, asking if he has a date or something similar. The first worker, clearly proud of himself, boasts that he met his girlfriend through a dating app and adds that she's really attractive. Takahashi catches this exchange and internally curses. He believes the boss should have assigned all this additional work to those guys instead of him. One of the co-workers approaches Takahashi and suggests he try using a dating app, casually remarking that he's still single. Takahashi responds that he's fine and not interested. The co-worker insists, encouraging him to simply sign up and give it a chance. Irritated, Takahashi snaps at him to stop, but his colleagues, undaunted, go ahead and register him for a dating app anyway, using entirely fictitious details for his profile. Annoyed, Takahashi mutters to himself about how his ridiculous co-workers signed him up. If they were so concerned about his solitude, he thinks angrily they should have taken some of his workload instead. Now logged into the app, Takahashi browses through profiles, feeling a blend of skepticism and irritation. He spots a profile of a girl who seems cute but has unreasonable demands regarding her partner's annual income. Another profile features a woman around his age, yet she expresses interest only in attractive men. To his surprise, he discovers college students on the app and wonders why anyone would use something like this. Suddenly, Takahashi's profile connects with someone else on the app. Confused, he questions what he is doing. He quickly concludes that there's no way anyone would genuinely find him appealing and decides to unsubscribe from the app. However, the idea lingers. Being alone feels isolating. He acknowledges that he has never had a girlfriend. It's not as if he had no opportunities, but his long hours at work have always interfered. With student loans to repay and financial support for his parents, he has little time or money for himself. As he compares himself to others, Takahashi experiences a twinge of sadness. Deep down, he yearns for a girlfriend, a sweet girl who would care about him. He reflects on his life as a corporate worker and in a moment of hopelessness, thinks that life is utterly miserable. Feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, Takahashi dramatically voices a wish to die, but he quickly retracts it, nervously laughing at his own comment and reassuring himself that he doesn't truly mean it. With a resigned sigh, he decides it's time to return to his work. As he double-checks one last time, Takahashi inadvertently sends a message to a girl named Nanes. In a panic, he comes to the realization that he intended to vent on social media, but has instead directed his grievances to a stranger. Before he can erase the message, he gets a reply. Nanes is interested in meeting him. Takahashi stares at his phone in shock. The following scene reveals him anxiously waiting to meet Nanes. He hadn't gotten much sleep the night prior due to his workload and nerves. As he revisits her profile, he notes that her picture is adorable, but feels uneasy when he sees she's identified as an investor. He thinks there can't be anything more suspicious than that. A voice behind him interrupts his contemplation, inquiring if he is Takahashi. He quickly affirms, turning around to find Nanase standing in front of him. She greets him with warmth, apologizing for the wait. Takahashi is taken aback. He thinks she's exceptionally cute, possibly the most stunning woman he has ever seen. The setting changes to a hotel cafe where they sit together. Takahashi thinks he's in the presence of a beauty queen who is destined to be a television announcer. He admires her looks and realizes that her avatar was genuinely representative. While they converse, Nanase unexpectedly takes his hand and inquires about what transpired the night before. Feeling embarrassed, Takahashi apologizes and clarifies that he didn't intend for her to receive that message. He confesses that work has been challenging lately and he was not in the right frame of mind. He reassures her that he truly doesn't wish to die and conveys his apologies again for taking up her time. Anticipating her anger, Takahashi is taken aback when Nanase exhales in relief and expresses that she's happy it wasn't something serious. To lighten the atmosphere, she picks up her fork and mentions that she's suddenly feeling hungry now that she's at ease. Offering him a bite of her cake, she advises him not to overexert himself at work. As she grins at him, Takahashi notices himself blushing. She expresses her gratitude for him coming to see her and shares that she enjoyed a lot. As she bids farewell, she proposes the idea of meeting up again in the future. Takahashi waves goodbye, agreeing, even though he is skeptical that it will actually happen. Back at the office, Takahashi leans against the vending machine, reflecting on the day. He thinks Nanase is adorable and charming, but he quickly reassures himself that her proposal to meet again was merely courteous. Nevertheless, he can't help but smile, acknowledging that he actually enjoyed conversing with someone outside of work for a change. Just then his phone buzzes. Expecting a message from his supervisor, Takahashi's eyes widen when he sees it's from Nanase. She mentions that she had a wonderful time and asks if he would like to get together again over the weekend. The scenes accelerate as Takahashi contemplates how, against his expectations, they have continued to stay in touch. They have met and called each other countless times, and their schedules always seem to match perfectly. Although he's perplexed as to why their relationship hasn't fizzled out, he's too content to analyze it too deeply. For a fleeting moment, Takahashi entertains the idea that Nanase might have feelings for him, but he quickly casts the thought aside as unrealistic. Glancing at a recent message from her about trying out the coffee he suggested, Takahashi chuckles to himself and saves the photo she sent. At home, overwhelmed with paperwork, he realizes there's no chance he'll finish before their upcoming date. He texts her to apologize, accepting that he will need to cancel. As he works late in the night, Takahashi fell asleep, only to awaken at midnight. When he checked his phone, he noticed a response from Nanase, who assured him not to stress and inquired if she should bring him some food. In that moment, Takahashi's usual life began to change in ways he never anticipated. The doorbell rang, catching Takahashi off guard. He halted, his mind racing in every direction. He wondered if Nanase had already come, panic tightening within him. He attempted to steady himself, but quickly questioned how she would even know where he lived. Sarcastically, he thought that it was more probable that a salesperson was at his door, yet his anxiety spiked again. He fretted that Nanase might see the shabby condition of his dilapidated apartment and think negatively of him. Shaking off his worries, he called out loudly that he is on his way and hurried to open the door. Upon opening it, he found Nanase standing there, greeting him with cheerfulness and wishing him a pleasant evening. Takahashi felt utterly flustered. He exclaimed, asking Nanase what brought her there. She explained with a kind smile that she resided in the building across the street and happened to notice him coming home one day. His thoughts spun as he grappled with the realization that Nanase lived so close by. Before he could respond, she cut in, expressing her concern by admonishing him. She wanted to know why his eyes appeared so sunken and dark. Takahashi fumbled his words, trying to explain that he hadn't been sleeping well due to work commitments. Her look softened, yet her concern only intensified. She inquired whether he had eaten recently, then reconsidered and suggested he might simply need some rest. She mentioned she had brought him food in case he was hungry. Takahashi felt a wave of gratitude for her kindness, but hastily replied that he was all right. He added, feeling anxious, that his room was quite messy and he would prefer she not come in. Nanace dismissed his objections, firmly stating that it was of no consequence. She urged him to take better care of himself and confessed that she didn't really understand the nature of his job. Nevertheless, she admitted her worry that he might work himself to exhaustion at this pace. Takahashi gazed at her, taken aback by her genuine concern. A fleeting glimmer of hope crossed his mind as he wondered if she might actually have feelings for him. However, he quickly pushed the thought away, scolding himself not to raise his hopes. He forced a grin, chuckling anxiously, and assured her that he was all right. She pressed him again, inquiring if he was truly certain. He nodded and emphasized that he felt wonderful, even joking that he felt good enough to enjoy a drink. Nanace beamed at his reply and then proposed that he take a break by visiting her place. She promised that she wouldn't pressure him if he wasn't interested. Takahashi wavered for a moment, but ultimately consented, stating that he would accompany her. The scene transitioned as they arrived at a large building. Takahashi followed Nanace into the elevator, observing her press the button for the 9th floor. His thoughts raced again, contemplating whether this would be the moment he finally embraced adulthood. When they reached her apartment, his heart raced in his chest. Nanace opened the door and invited him inside, and he expressed his gratitude politely. The instant he entered, Takahashi was left speechless. The room was an utter disaster, with clutter scattered everywhere. He gazed in astonishment as Nanace apologized nonchalantly, mentioning that the room was a bit untidy. She pointed to a place where he could take a seat and mentioned that she would change her clothes. Growing more uneasy, Takahashi's gaze began to drift. His curiosity overtook him, leading him to sneak a glance behind a curtain. What he found caused a shiver to run through him. The whole wall was plastered with images of him, captured in different angles and moments. His heart raced as he panicked inside, questioning if all those pictures were indeed of him. At that moment, Nanace's voice interrupted his thoughts, inquiring about what was wrong. Takahashi turned abruptly, only to find her nonchalantly pushing aside a pillow which has his face printed on it. She invited him to sit wherever he preferred. With a trembling voice, he asked her what was going on with the photos. She calmly sealed the curtain and told him to stop worrying about them. Then, in a seemingly innocent manner, she probed for his opinion on the apartment. She added that she had purchased it with him in mind, leaving Takahashi completely bewildered. As she elaborated, she mentioned that she had intended for them to cohabit eventually and that things had just moved along more swiftly than she had anticipated. She assured him that this was a positive development. Noticing his shocked look, Nanace comforted him by saying she would handle the rent. With a cheerful grin, she mentioned that one bed would suffice for the two of them because they would be sharing it. Takahashi's unease intensified, and he understood he had to leave right away. He attempted to politely excuse himself, stating he couldn't trouble her any longer, but as he turned to exit, he tripped and fell. Nanace, now seated on the bed, inquired calmly if he was really attempting to leave. Her tone shifted to serious as she pointed out that she had put in significant effort to get him to come over, so he couldn't just walk away now. She stared intently at him, observing that he was always so guarded and probably wouldn't have visited even if she had invited him before. Then, with a gentle yet fervent tone, she cradled his face in her hands and expressed that having him there in person was the best thing. Her voice became even softer as she revealed that she would do anything for him. She assured him that regardless of whether he did nothing but eat and play games all day, as long as he stayed with her, she wouldn't mind. Then she proposed to handle his boss, the one who was always making his life difficult. Takahashi, feeling completely taken aback, managed to ask why she would go to such lengths for him. Nanace's gaze softened as she disclosed her true feelings. She had been in love with him all along. She explained that if someone else could bring him joy, she would have stepped aside. But since that wasn't the case, she resolved to be the one to bring him happiness. Her voice turned urgent as she implored him to live with her. She warned him that she might lose her grip and confine him there if he didn't agree. She painted a vivid picture of their love nest, a sanctuary where no one could disrupt their joy. Takahashi's mind raced. He acknowledged that, despite her cuteness, there were certain boundaries that simply shouldn't be crossed. Nanace moved closer, her voice thick with emotion. She confessed her love for him and pleaded for them to be a couple. In that moment, Takahashi came to the unsettling realization that this was how his relationship with Nanace had begun.